This is the upper garden, September 1st, 2025. As you can see, service berries have been gone for a while. Black currants have been pretty well picked through. There's still quite a few of them on there though, but the birds are having a blast with them. Our blackberries are coming in nicely. There's quite a few of those that are very nice looking. Our Asian pears are doing well. We have rose hips coming in, as you can see, and a lot of them. They're all over this wild rose bush. Our apple trees are doing well. This is, I think, a Honeycrisp. As you can see, it is loaded and they're blushing nicely. I mean, some places there's not room for any more apples. Just everywhere. Up here's our black ice plum tree. This produces the most delicious plums, but this year it didn't produce a single one because it got hurt a couple years ago in a freeze, and it's been recovering ever since. But as you can see, it's recovering nicely. And this is one of our apricot trees. It's coming along. Another one of our apple trees. We have a lot of different breeds. I don't think we even have 2 trees on the property that are the same breed of apple. So a lot of these are completely different from each other. Like this guy up here. Here's another good example. This is one of our crabapple trees, and it's doing really well. Very nice color on these apples. Branches are just bent down. There's just so many of them on here. Here's our Asian horn nut tree or bush, and that thing has grown 5 times over in the last probably 3 years. It gets half again bigger every year. The cats love it. They get under it for shade all the time. Here's our cotton candy plum tree. As you can see, they're turning. And what's been happening is it's been dropping anywhere from 10 to 20 plums a day, especially if it gets windy. So they're ripe and they're ready. That's what they look like before you wipe them off. They've got that kind of powdery look to them. That's to protect them. And they tend to look a little more like this when you start wiping them off. Like that right there. And this is the bubblegum plum or the toka plum tree. And this is what they look like when they're fully ripe. We've been plucking them off here and eating them every single day. There's a double. 2 of them hanging off the same stem. And this tree behind me is called a green gauge plum tree. And if you've seen any of my previous gardening videos, you know that there's only one main branch on this tree because the other one broke off or died here a couple of winters ago. We had a bad freeze that killed a lot of things, killed about half this tree. So it's just got this one main branch. We've got a branch coming in here that's done really well this year. At the beginning of the year, it was about half the size of this one. And as you can see now, it's almost 1 inch across at the base. It's going to do really well to give this tree some balance. But here's what they look like now that I brought a ladder out here. And these guys are finally ripe. Once they go from green and they start turning yellow like this, that's when they get ripe. As you can see, I'll try and get them in the sun. That's what they look like when they're ripe. And this right here, that's about the average size. Some of them are a little bigger, some are a little smaller, but that's about the average size. This one is perfectly ripe and ready to go. And the green gauge is arguably my favorite plum. The black ice plum is also really, really good. The cotton candy plum, really, really good. But green gauge, really hard to beat. Super sweet, really delicious. Peach trees have put on a lot of good growth this year. Our yellow cherry tree gave us some good yellow cherries, but not too many. Just basically maybe a little over a dozen of them was all, so almost hardly any. But it's done a lot of recovering this year. I would suspect that as long as winter doesn't come along and hurt everything, next year that yellow cherry tree will do really well. And right here among the peach trees, we've got this little plum tree. I don't remember what breed this is, but they are nice looking. They're still rock hard. They look like they'd be ripe, but they're not yet. But they're nice looking. Tiny little tree, it's putting on quite a few plums. And here's another one of our plum trees. Again, I don't recall the breed. We have so many that it's hard for me to keep these breeds straight. But as you can see, this one is very prolific. And here's that same plum tree from behind with the morning sun shining on it. As you can see, they're a nice color. And these guys are just barely starting to get ripe. But they are a nice true blue. And we get up in here a little further into the far part of the upper garden. We've got our sunflowers coming in nicely. Almost always covered with bees. Almost always. Got another peach tree here. I think this is called a donut peach. We planted this one just last year, so it's doing pretty well considering that. We've got a lot of different plants up in here. You can see more sunflowers. A lot of these just plant themselves every year. We've got a few different, quite a few different tomatoes. We'll make our way through this path right here. We've got them trellised on this side, trellised over here. They're not trellised right here, just because we didn't get around to it. But as you can see, they're putting on. And a lot of these are coming in pretty well. When we get up in here, here's an amaranth. Look at that. It's green with little pink tips. More tomatoes. Coming along pretty darn good. Considering that these guys don't get as much sun as they probably should, they're coming along well. Orange amaranth. More sunflowers. Here's some red or pink amaranth. This is a different peach tree. I can't remember the name of this one. A different breed altogether. Also planted last year. Tomatillo. We've been pulling quite a few off of here, as you can see. And if you're not that familiar with how tomatillos come along, they're kind of a funny plant because they're actually born inside of these sacs. And when they're young, like this one, you can rattle them around in there. I mean, it's the size of a marble in the top of that sack. But once they get closer to ready, they fill this sack out more and more and more. And the ones that are ready, like this one right here, have filled it out basically entirely. Okay, that's all tomatillo. And there's certain breeds of ground cherries. They're known as ground cherries, and they're more savory than they are sweet. And I'm not even sure if they're a true cherry, but they're a lot like a tomatillo. They come in a little sack like that, and you got to peel the little sack off of it, and then the fruit is inside. And that's the way tomatillos are as well. Built this bed out of some leftover landscaping timbers I had, just for strawberries, and they're coming back. And that's why you really want to try and plant, if you can, ever-bearing strawberries, because then you'll get them not maybe throughout the entire season, but you'll get them at the beginning and at the end of the season. You'll get two different crops off of an ever-bearing. And then some of the small strawberries, the alpine strawberries, and I'll show you an example of those. Those go all summer. From the end of May till about the end of October, you can have your alpine strawberries blooming all year. They're tiny, but they taste really good and they bloom all year. And then here, got these beds that I built with timbers and half of a Peterbilt fender. Peterbilt fender was cut straight in half, so this is one fender per bed. Peppers coming in very nicely. We've been pulling off of these peppers for a few months now, or at least 1 month now. Same with on this side, all these tires. A lot of them have pepper plants in them as well as flowers because we want to keep our pollinators up. And they're coming in and have been. We've been pulling off of these for well over a month. Getting bunches and bunches and bunches of peppers off of them. This one's known as an orange blaze. And as you can see, that's why. And we've got hot cherry peppers. That you can eat them when they're green or red. We prefer to wait till they're red. I know, Felix. And see over here, more peppers and even more tomatillos. Back over here, more flowers, more peppers. You get in there, you don't have to get in there far, and you start seeing peppers. It looks kind of overgrown because it kind of is. But everything I'm pointing at here is a pepper plant. And they're either full or they're in production. Because we pluck off of them, so as soon as we do, they start making more. And as we turn around and we're headed back down the fence. Now we were headed south, now we're headed north. Here's our sumacs. And they're getting ready to turn to their fall colors. Pretty soon they're entirely going to be covered like that in red. Another one of our apple trees. Doing very well. This one's going to be harvested in the next probably 3 weeks, I suppose. Another Asian horn nut bush. There's that cherry tree, semi-sweet cherry tree that did so well earlier this year. Another apple tree, doing well. This is the crab apple I showed you a few minutes ago. Another apple tree. Got this bench out of the, my daughter and I found it in the landfill a couple years ago. And we went ahead, as soon as we saw it, it had a fabric seat on it that was all ripped up. These were bent up and twisted and cracked and rusty. The whole thing was just in a pile, all separated out and in a pile. We gathered up all the pieces, loaded it up, brought it home, straightened it out, did some welding to it, did some fabricating to it, cut up a pallet, a big heavy duty pallet that my sandblasting comes on, and redid the entire seat in that. That was 4, 5, 6 years ago, maybe even more. And it's been sitting here ever since in full weather. So it's been holding up pretty good. Good spot to sit. You can look down there, or you can look down there from here. Nice peaceful spot. Here's our white mulberry. It did well this year. Another serviceberry, another wild rose. Flaming Fury peach. It's huge for a peach tree. That thing's 16 feet tall. Come down here to the cat yard. As you can see, I have a cat deck. I put a shade cover on the top of it so the cats can sit up here. As you can see, there's one of them on the seat back there. That's PJ on that far seat right there. And they love lounging in there because, as you can see, there's the morning sun and there's what it looks like up in there. And once it gets to noonday sun, this is just perfectly shaded in there and the cats love it. But it's also a full enclosure. I can take that door. It's a homemade door. And just swing it shut. And then we can control the cat flow through this little door that's in it. During the day, it just stays open. But cats cannot escape from this. The only way they can escape is through the back into this yard, which is our cat yard. And this is just prefabricated fence panel. And this is that fence panel as well that I just turned into a gate. When we come in here, as you can see, we've got fencing around the top. These are brackets that hold sleeper wings on. The wings that are on the back of sleeper fairings is what some people call them. And I've saved them throughout the years, and we use them for things like this to hold this fencing in place to make this yard cat proof. We only have 2 cats that are skilled enough to be able to escape from here, and one of them only has 3 legs. Here's my mulberry bush. It's not the white mulberry, it's more of it's the red one or the regular one, whatever you call it. And it's been producing for months. One that's just getting started next to one that's in production. Here's one that's closer to being done. Once they turn black, they're done. And this thing's loaded with them. As you can see, it's just been dropping them on the ground for a while now. We eat off of it every day too, and it still just produces and produces and produces tons of mulberries. Here's a semi-sweet cherry tree that did pretty well this year. It's pretty young. Here's our black raspberries, and they just turn into every year we trim them down where there's only a few sticks sticking out of the ground back here. And every year they grew up into a giant thicket of black raspberries. Here is a Bartlett pear. They're coming along well. Another black raspberry bush. Here's another plum tree that's doing really well. And it's yet another plum tree that I don't remember the breed of right off the bat, but this branch weighs 5 pounds at least. I mean, that weighs a lot. These guys are really good. And that's about their standard size. They're just about to turn ripe. Here's another pear. I think this is another Bartlett pear, but I can't be positive. It's coming along well. And back in this corner of the yard, a lot of these plants aren't food producers at all. They're just for the sake of the foliage and how well they cover the ground, giving the cats cover. Because again, this is the cat yard. This whole thing all the way around this corner to that wall is all cat yard. And this is where we contain them when we want them contained. And so we want plenty of places for them to be able to hide and you know, get some cover, feel like they're in a jungle. And this is a Korean lilac, elderberry. We just have, this is a 9 bark, another black currant, sand cherries, which the birds love, and a lot of the insects also love. And we have strawberries all the way through this whole bed. In fact, all straw. There's none blooming right now because they've already bloomed and they've already gone. But at the edge of this bed, almost the entire way on the ground is all strawberry beds. And here's the center garden, September 1st, 2025. A lot of our bean vines are starting to kind of die off and doing what they do. We're leaving these so we can get the dried beans. We harvested on them forever. I mean, we got so many beans off this year, and we left this last crop so we can go ahead and wait for them to dry out on the vine and get the dry beans. As you can see, if you look carefully, there is a bunch of them. Just everywhere. Same with this one. Everywhere. And we were getting this many beans in fresh growth that we were plucking on every single week for the last month and a half. So these have really done well for us this year. And as you can see, they're still doing well. And these guys, once they get to looking like this, all kind of bony looking like that, with all the lumps in them, that's one way of telling that they're too far gone to enjoy, you know, to just walk along and snack on. But we're, like I said, we're doing this on purpose. We're letting them dry out so we can get the dry beans off of them. We harvested all the grapes this year. The grapevine made it almost all the way over the trellis. Another peach tree that did really well this year. That's probably 15 feet tall. When we started the year this spring, it was probably 7-8 feet tall. I mean, it put on that much in one summer. Very impressive. That peach tree over here, earlier this year, was down around here. So it's basically doubled in height just this summer. Sunflowers everywhere of all sorts. Look at that one sticking up there. That's 10-12 feet tall. And it's always loaded with bees. Look how many flowers are on it. And I mean, look how tall that thing is. That's pretty easy 12 feet tall. It's a monster. Really nice looking too. Not too many plants bring in pollinators as well as sunflowers tend to. And this was just a pile of dirt a couple summers ago. Dirt, and it's a hugelkultur. So it's got logs that have been cut and split on the bottom, covered with branches, covered with some foliage, covered with dirt, and then it was left and then planted. And since I put in our automatic watering system, our drip system, in all these beds, and I put one in here too, this really took off this year. Got so many different plants, raspberries everywhere. This is where all of our red currants are. Red currants are better than black currants, and they came in heavy this year. Another apple tree. Don't know the breed, and it hasn't made any apples yet. A lot of them don't for 7 or more years before they start making their very first apple. You gotta be patient when you're doing apples. My garden spider, made out of the first sandblaster I ever owned, and then trampoline poles. It's about 10, 12 feet long total from the end to the end. And these are dangerous. I always have to warn people when they come out in the garden, don't go bumping into those. They'll cut you wide open. A lot of our Chinese cabbages are here. That's some of our very favorite cabbage, is a Chinese cabbage. There's a few different breeds of them, and we've got a lot of onions that come in and plant themselves every year. Onions are another one that when they bloom, they bring in a lot of pollinators. Borage. You can let borage get out of control if you want. It's a pretty decent plant, pulls in a lot of pollinators. Look at this little head of cabbage. Here's one forming. Grasshoppers have been busy. This is a Dolgo crab apple. As you can see, it can't be much more full than it is. Branches are just weighed down. The whole tree is tipping this way because it's so weighed down. They're a really nice color. These are ripe. These are ready to go. And when you let's see how they look. I'll get another one here. See how they look? How they kind of look. They have that kind of velvet look to them. And then when you pluck them off and you wipe it off on your shirt, then they get all shiny. And these, the longer you leave them here, the sweeter they get. And they stop resembling a crab apple and they start tasting more like a normal sweet apple. They're really great. They're great for recipes. They're great to just sit and eat. The only thing about them that's a bit of a challenge is the fact that they're so small. If you were to process them for a recipe, it would take a long time. So they're mostly just one of our snacking fruits when we go through the garden. Get a handful of them every single day and eat them. And you can do that for a while because they'll stay in this state for quite a while, actually. So they're good to go for a bit. Here we have a couple of semi-sweet plum trees. And they produce plums that are about the size of a good-sized cherry is all. And the longer you leave them, the sweeter they are. To a point, they're plums, and they're pretty susceptible to getting overripe. So you have a few weeks there that you can just sit and pluck them off the tree and eat them while we're walking around the garden. And that's really all we use them for. They're too small for anything else, but they're good to have around. More sunflowers. This one's just way down. And they're always covered in bees. All these guys are covered in bees. These are tomato beds. And they're doing well. Bunches and bunches of tomatoes all the way through these beds. This is a potato bed. And the funny thing about it is it's doing really well. And it was planted this year with store potatoes. We had a thing of potatoes going bad in the pantry, and Jen just cut them all up to where 1 or 2 eyes was in each piece, and then planted all the pieces, and they've come up and done really well. And I'll let you in on the potato harvest when that happens, which will be in the next week or so. A few more potatoes here. Another amaranth coming in. More tomato beds that are just, when you get down in there, they're loaded. There's my yard furniture that I built out of a seat. That one was built out of the seat frame of a 59 International pickup that I did years ago. And I just put pallet wood on it, and the sides are made out of, right here, are made out of trampoline poles, as you can see. Those recliners, the loungers, are made out of trampoline poles. The paint is starting to come up off of them because wood just doesn't hold paint for years and years and years. And these were built probably 5 years ago. And but the structure's holding up great and the wood's holding up great, but paint doesn't stay on them forever, no matter how well you prep them. On the horizontal surfaces. On the vertical surfaces, it lasts a long time, as you can see. But on the horizontal surfaces, it just starts coming up. Hey, Buzzy. I know. Over here, tomatoes are doing really well. See that? Those are nice looking. And over here we have a couple more pear trees that are just coming along. And over here we've got a, I think this is a choke cherry. This might be a different breed of choke cherry here. All three of these are the same. And they were loaded, absolutely loaded with berries a few months ago. And the birds came down and ate every single one of them, which is fine. I'm not a giant choke cherry fan necessarily anyway. And we like trying to share some of our bounty with the wildlife around here anyway. Especially in ways where they can come get something and get right to the fence, where they minimize their chances of contact with a cat. There's another apple. That one's not doing very well. We planted it last year. We're thinking about just getting rid of it. Another black currant. Here's the tortoise. We built this 5-6 years ago. It just houses an electrical setup and our internet setup that used to go to a house that was right here, that we tore completely down and tore it apart and used all the materials to build that greenhouse and that shop addition over there off of this side. And up here around this corner, we're getting into more. There's another pear tree. It's doing really well. Another one that's doing really well. They're only a year or two old. That one died clear back to the ground and then came up, so it's doing pretty well considering that. Our tomatoes. We've been pulling a ton of tomatoes. We've already pulled buckets and buckets of tomatoes off of here and turned them into recipes. And those recipes have been canned and it's all stored. And then we're still getting more and more and more tomatoes. Every day we come out here and pull more tomatoes. They're turning all the time. Everywhere you look. This bed, that bed, that bed, that bed are all tomato beds primarily. We grow other things in them, as you can see, onions and stuff. And of course, flowers for the sake of the looks and the pollinators. Same with these beds. There's a Peterbilt fender. We put one on either side with just landscaping timbers at the back. And then down here, more tomatoes. And then we get into a lot more cherry tomatoes. Our tromboncino squash, they're coming in well. We've had a few of those this summer. They grow 2, 3, 4 feet long, and there's 3 of them right there that are well over a foot long each. More cherry tomatoes. And now off to the third and final garden. Okay, and here's the far garden, September 1st, 2025. Onions been coming in well all year. Some more of our Chinese cabbage. We did okay with cucumbers this year, but they're done. Pumpkins are coming in really well, and they're all getting darker. And you can see this is an average size to smaller one, and it's pretty darn big. And here's a decent one. And as you can see, they've just stretched out and just dominated basically this whole part of the garden. Butterflies and pollinators everywhere, you can see. There's a good size one. There's a good size one. We have a couple different breeds of pumpkin here. We have the Cinderella pumpkins. That one. I mean, look at the size of that one. That guy is doing really well. And then we have this breed, I don't remember the name. But we have a couple different pumpkins out here. Here's another example. Still trying to do business. As you can see, tons of flowers. Our corn, which looks to be shabby and in disarray, but it's actually fully ready to harvest, and we'll be finishing harvest. We've been taken off of this quite a few times, but now we'll go ahead and finish out this little patch here today. Our corn isn't meant to fill a freezer or anything like that. It's mostly just so we can walk through the garden, because it's really sweet corn. So we can just walk through the garden, pluck an ear, eat it while we're walking around. It's just a garden snacking food, and that's what we use it for, and that's why it's such a little patch. But it's done well this year. We'll finish getting the remaining ears off of it here pretty quick. And we've pulled a bunch of squash and zucchini out of here this year. We pulled a bunch of melons out of here this year. We still have a few left to pull, but we've pulled dozens of them out of here this year. He's a whole different type of winter squash or pumpkin. And once in a while, those squash or zucchini, especially the green zucchini, can hide in under the foliage. And it only takes a few days, a week at the most. If they hide from you long enough, they get so big that they're just completely full of seeds and not as much use to us. We like them, you know, that big around and however long they're going to get. But we don't want them to get too big, and once in a while they do, as you can tell. I mean... And so we just take these bigger ones and put them in the compost. We haven't thrown them in the compost pile yet. They've just been set off to the side. But as you can see, that's after just a few days of being overlooked. And we've got a few cherry tomatoes coming in here too. Doing well. It won't be long. This garden will be done here in the next few weeks. We will have harvested everything except for a few of the pumpkins, and this garden will be done for the year. We're out here on my front deck here, and I'll show you just over the last few days. This is just over the last few days. We've gotten a bunch of, you know, heirloom tomatoes and just regular different breed. We got quite a few different breeds of tomatoes. We tried paste tomatoes. These are like an Amish paste, which is arguably the best tomato around for canning and recipes. And up here, we've got a nice heirloom tomato. This is a French cantaloupe, so is this one. These taste and smell wonderful. I'm not sure the breed on these little melons. We've grown half a dozen little different breeds of melons this year alone, so it's hard for me to keep them straight or tell them apart even. And you know, here's just a pretty typical squash or zucchini from one of our beds. I think it's from the far bed. And here we've got nice looking eggplant, and then bunches of peppers. Bunches and bunches of peppers in there. And that's just from the last couple days here in the garden. So that's about what we're pulling out of it, 2 to 3 times a week. And processing it. We store it in a fridge we have out in the shop, and then once it's we've accumulated enough, then we'll go ahead and process it and turn it into whatever we're going to do, which is more often than not canning. All right, it's just a few days after the last time I had the camera out. It's September 5th, and I'm here by the Toka plum tree, and we had wind all day yesterday, fierce wind all day yesterday. And so I expected to see this when I came out this morning. Plums, quite a few of them on the ground. There was many more than this, but we came through this morning and cleaned a bunch of them up. But just since then, there's been quite a few drop it. It all but stripped the tree clean. We have a few still hanging on. That one's not even any good. But this morning when I come out here, we had 100 plums on the ground. And then the Dolgo crabapple tree that I'm getting ready to show you is much the same. It's had a bunch of them fall on the ground. We're going to go ahead and finish stripping it today because they're due. They're ripe and ready, and they are delicious little apples, but they are little. So we're going to go ahead and get those cleaned up off the ground and get this the Dolgo crabapple stripped and the Whitney crabapple stripped here today. I'm surprised it didn't break any branches off yesterday. They're so weighed down with fruit, and that wind was so fierce. And here we've gotten started, as you can see. And then if you look all over the ground here, they're right back up into the brush. They're thick everywhere. They were that thick all around here, but we just got a bunch of them picked up, and here's the rest of the tree still loaded down. You can see these branches are just weighed down with fruit. We're going to go ahead and start getting a few of these, and these guys don't pluck too bad. I don't want to do a bunch of plucking with one hand because that's a good way to damage a plant. I watch a few gardening YouTubers that are great at it, like the Veggie Boys for instance, but I'm not seasoned at it and I won't be doing a bunch of it. But as you can see, we're gonna get this Dolgo cleaned up, and then we're gonna get the Whitney cleaned up. All right, so we got all those Dolgo apples picked, and I'll show you the entire collection when we're done. And now we got a couple more 5-gallon buckets out here. Nothing in either one of them. And we're gonna start in on the cherry tomatoes. As you can see, these plants are dying off. We're at the end of the year. We're well into September here, so it makes sense. You can see they're pretty much dying off. But I'm gonna be doing cherry tomatoes of a few different kinds, and Jen's going to be doing the full-size tomatoes. And we'll just be getting in here and getting over 90% of them picked and put in buckets. As you can see, there's bunches and bunches and bunches of them. And we'll leave that little green guy to do what he's going to do. We'll take the rest of them. And that's just what we'll be doing over and over again. Leaving the ones that are still developing. Taking the ones that are about done. Some of which are in nice tidy little groups. Like that. And these guys. I'm leaving some of them behind because some of them I can tell are split and they feel squishy, too squishy to be putting in the bucket. After all, I don't really want to start a problem. You put a tomato or any kind of fruit together, in fact, and a lot of vegetables are that way too, that have gone too far, or they're split or something like that, and then they'll pass that on to the others. The others will go ahead and ripen far too quickly. So or if you get them all slimed up, you know. So I'm going to be careful, and so is Jen, about what we're throwing in the bucket. We'll be putting everything in the bucket that isn't too far gone or doesn't have any reason to be leaking. And we also have a bunch in these beds. That's our potato bed. We're probably going to harvest some of those today as well. But as you can see, we've got a bunch of these to do. My bucket's already a third full. Jen's is even fuller. We're going to go ahead and get going on it. We're going to get all of them that have started to turn. Like that green one right there we won't get, but the rest of these we will. They start to ripen from the inside out. Once that process has begun, we're free to go ahead and pull them. They'll be ripe here in just a few days. Well, and now we're going to go ahead and dig into this bed and start to see what the potatoes look like here this year. Okay, here we are going to pull this one up out of here a little bit. And we'll start seeing what we've got. We've got some smaller guys here. And we've got some medium guys.
Must not have been a potato here.
And we got some medium guys. I'm not expecting a bunch of big potatoes, but this is a nice roasting size. And a good looking potato.
Oh, where are you? Oh, we
Here's
got
one.
Come here and look at Bertha. Look at
Yeah, that's a nice one. It's a nice red potato.
We've never made one that big.
And then we just got them out of this. There was a little tiny plant right here, and we got that many out of it. So that's not too bad, and those are a good roasting size. We're not big potato growers, so for us that's a pretty decent haul. And here's one we just pulled up. Not too bad. Our red potatoes are looking pretty good this year. So that's not too bad a size. And here's what we're getting so far. We've only pulled up about 3 plants. Getting some nice red ones. Getting some pretty good yellow ones. Getting a nice collection. We're going to probably end up using all 3 of these buckets at least. And now we're getting some of these yellow potatoes up out of the ground. We're getting just this one bed is completely filled, this bucket, so far. And we still have another couple plants to pull up. Not too bad. And here's the start we've gotten here. This was just one plant just pulled up out of the ground, and this is what fell off of it. So not too bad a start. We've got the rest of this bed to go ahead and get. Not bad. Those guys. And that means there's going to be quite a few left in there. That's a decent size for the particular breed of yellow potato we're growing this year. So far so good. All right, we're getting about halfway through this bed. We've already got a 5-gallon bucket filled up. Some normal sized ones for this breed, some bigger ones for this breed, and some downright big ones for this particular breed. So as you can see, we're still just piling them up. Not a bad potato year for us, considering that these are our store potatoes that were just thrown in the ground earlier this year. And here we're getting a little further down the bed, probably 2/3 the way down the bed. Getting quite a few. And again, these already came out of here before we got started on these. So not too bad for just a 4-foot by probably 12-foot bed.
Half full.
And here's this bed once we're done. This many potatoes came up out of this bed. That's not bad for like a 4x12 bed, considering there were just some store potatoes that were going bad in our pantry that got thrown in the ground earlier this year. And here's our Whitney crab apple. You can see they're looking good. A few of them have been pecked by birds, but most of them are in good shape. Most of them are good looking apples. And they're ready to go. We're going to go ahead. We got a couple 5-gallon buckets here. We're going to go ahead and strip this tree. As you can see, it's getting tired of bearing the weight anyway. I mean, this guy here is just leaned clear over into this Asian hornnut tree. And this is pretty common. I mean, I'm a little surprised this survived the windstorm yesterday as well as it did, because with this much weight, a lot of times it'll break branches when the wind comes up. So we're going to go ahead and get this guy plucked. As you can see, they'll come off fairly easily without too much plant damage. We'll go ahead and take the time to get this guy plucked and get these buckets full. And then we have another apple tree that we might do today while we're at it. We're going to go ahead and harvest some of those Honeycrisp apples, but they weren't quite ready yet, so we left them on the tree. The tree's full though. And so we're down here in the peppers, and we're going to be pulling a few of these today. As you can see, some of them are very ready. Some of them are getting ready. Some of them are green and ready-ish, and some are red and ready. We've got some orange ones that are ready. More orange ones that are ready. We've got some cherry peppers that are ready. We've got some of these hot peppers that are ready. I think these might be an ancho pepper actually. So we're going to go through and we're going to see if we can pick a peck of peppers. Now we could eat these green, a lot of people do. We prefer them red. So we'll go ahead and get some of these red guys off here. And we've got some other guys like these here, come right off. Like this guy right here, comes right off. We've got some Hungarian wax that are, some are ready and some are just about ready. I'll come in here. Look at this guy. Get a couple of these guys while we're in here. Okay, now here's how many peppers we've gotten so far, just in this haul. got a number of different kinds of peppers, as you can see. Poblanos and anchos and hot Hungarian wax and hot cherry and long hots. And I mean, we've got a lot of different peppers in there. And we have a lot more to go. There's no sense in our peppers aren't determinate. In other words, they don't all come due at the same time. So there's some of them we're going to leave, and something like this one here. Why would you ever pick that one when it's so close to turning? You know. So we're going to be leaving those, but I did find there's a few tomatillos that are ready. And if you've never seen a tomatillo, you've only heard the word. You've heard it in reference to different salsas and different foods and stuff like that, but you've never actually seen one. Here's what they look like when they're ready. And you see they're in that little pouch. And sand cherries are like this, or ground cherries, I mean. Ground cherries are also like this. They come in a little pouch. But if the pouch isn't full yet, like this one right here, see, that's not full at all. There's the fruit. This one, not full at all. That's a little tiny grape. But they will grow to fill it, just like this one. This one was down next to the ground. It was more than ready. And here's what's interesting, right here. See that? That's what's inside of there. That's what a tomatillo looks like. Yeah, with the wrapper taken off and all ready to go. And here's that same tomatillo completely unwrapped. And they're a little sticky at this point. But that's what a tomatillo looks like before and after it's lost its little jacket. But you don't want to go peeling that off the minute that you harvest your tomatillos. The longer you leave it, the better off you are. It's going to sit and protect it until you're actually ready for them. Hey, if you like this video, you should take the time to hit the like button. It's going to help me grow my channel. If you don't like it, definitely don't hit the like button. And if you want to see videos like domestic auto body, truck auto body, gardening, carpentry, art, or any of the many, many things we do around here, you might as well just hit the subscribe button while you're at it, because, you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.